of scientific inquiry during the early 21st century, some might expect that I will construct models of these interactions. Such models are now prominent in assessing the risks of climate change, predicting food demand, and charting future energy uses and their composition, and they now provide tools for planning and directing future developments. Models of interactions among population, food, energy, economy, and the environment on the global level began during the late 1960s with the system dynamics studies of J. Forrester at MIT, and as an early participant in these efforts, I acquired a lifelong skepticism regarding their utility. I would never question their heuristic value, but their predictive ability remains limited by our incomplete grasp of constituent variables and by our even more uncertain understanding of their complex and evolving interactions. Those limitations are why I see every global or universal model and every theoretical explanation primarily as an exercise to be questioned and critically deconstructed, rather than as a reflection of reality that might provide useful insights into our futures. Oded Galor's unified growth theory is an excellent example of this contrast. Constructed by an economist, the theory would seem to provide an excellent framework for explaining the forces behind the grand transitions, and yet it does not contain any explicit recognition of the roles of energy and the environment in human affairs. As a lifelong student of both of these realms, I find it impossible to understand our world without close attention to energy and the biosphere. But why then have I decided not to use at least some graphic models? After all, some simple graphing of interactions driving both the specific transitions and those affecting other grand transformations might be the best way to illustrate the web of interdependencies and amplifying or moderating feedbacks. But if such flowcharts were to be reasonably realistic, not grossly simplified and hence offering caricatures rather than reflections of the real world, they would be confusingly interwoven, and more importantly, they could not convey counteracting, sequential, and changing feedbacks, and could not capture critical and often much delayed qualitative changes. When we are trying to disentangle these grand transitions, it is sometimes not even clear what we are dealing with, and even when it all began. Was the demographic transition an adjustment shift reacting to changing socioeconomic circumstances, be they falling infant mortalities, rising incomes, or a higher share of women in labor force? Or was it an innovation process, with newly available birth control methods diffusing progressively from early adopters? These paths have not been mutually exclusive, and moreover their interactions have been shaped by many country-specific characteristics. All of the suggested triggers, causes, and pathways have some merit, if not the same explanatory power. But in any case, it is impossible to offer either an absolute ranking or a neat graphic depiction. Turning to another complex example, I ask why Britain was the first early modern economy to experience the takeoff of economic growth. What determined its timing? What factors combined to sustain it? What were the respective roles of new energy sources, new scientific knowledge, new technical inventions, and new economic arrangements? Was it really a relatively rapid transformation, justifying the name of industrial revolution? Or was it a more complex process of gradual economic modernization? The inherent challenges of answering these inquiries are most obviously illustrated by the fact that there has been no agreement about the Industrial Revolution's direct causes, or even about the onset and the duration of that transformation. And from here, the complexities become only more knotty, because the uncertain trajectories of many transitions are yet another important argument against imposing generic models. Undoubtedly, the outcomes of some processes could be anticipated in the broadest terms right from the beginning of a transition, and in more specific terms once a transition process is underway. But in most instances, the full import of these transitions, including many unforeseeable realities, is revealed only once they have run most, if not all, of their course, when new arrangements and new interactions create new realities.